Hello, dear listeners. Do any of you often go to Dollar Tree? Personally, I do, but after the stories you're about to hear, I'm too scared to go there alone. Enjoy the show.
My name is Mark. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I needed a cheap picture frame and some cleaning spray. The Dollar Tree was in this half-empty strip mall next to an old laundromat. You know the kind. I walked in, grabbed a red basket, and headed for the home goods aisle. The store was quiet, just a couple of people by the registers. I found the frames. They were all pretty flimsy. As I was picking one up, I heard someone clear their throat right behind me. I turned around. It was an employee. He had on the standard green vest. His name tag said Jerry. He was older, maybe in his 60s, with thin gray hair and glasses. "Those fall apart if you look at them wrong," he said. He wasn't smiling. "Yeah," I said. "Just need it for something temporary." "For the photo of your wife on the dresser?" he asked. I froze. I had a photo of my wife, Sarah, on my dresser. The frame had broken that morning. How could he know that? Yeah, actually," I said. My voice sounded strange. "Get the plastic one, not the wood look. It lasts longer." He pointed to a different shelf. "The cleaning spray is on aisle 5, but don't get the blue one. It leaves a film. Get the yellow." I just stared at him. I hadn't mentioned cleaning spray. He nodded, like we'd had a full conversation, and walked away, pushing a cart with a single box of party napkins in it. My skin felt cold. I put the frame back and walked quickly to aisle 5. There were 2 kinds of spray, blue and yellow, just like he said. I grabbed the yellow one, my hand shaking a little. I just wanted to get out. I went to the front. A young woman was at the register. I put my items down. As she scanned them, Jerry walked out from the back room. He stood by the end of the checkout lane, watching me. Not doing anything, just watching. "That's $2.18, the cashier said. I handed her $3. She gave me my change. As I took the bag, Jerry spoke. "Drive safe, Mark. The overpass by the river is slick today. They haven't fixed the leak." I didn't even say thank you. I just walked out. My truck was the only one in the lot. I got in and locked the doors. My heart was pounding. How did he know my name, my wife, the frame, the spray? I never told him. I started the engine. To get home, I had 2 choices, the highway or taking Elm Street, which goes past the old river overpass. I always take the highway, always. But I sat there thinking about what he said. I decided to take the highway. It felt safer. As I pulled onto the main road, I saw flashing lights up ahead. An ambulance and 2 police cars were blocking the entrance to the highway on-ramp. There'd been a crash, a big one. A truck had skidded and jackknifed, blocking all lanes. They were turning everyone around. I had to take Elm Street. I had to go over the river. The overpass is narrow and old. As I got onto it, my wipers were going. It had started to drizzle. Right in the middle of the bridge, my tires hit a huge, almost invisible patch of black ice. The back end of my truck slid out toward the guardrail. I fought the wheel, pumping the brakes, not slamming them. I remembered what my dad taught me. The truck straightened, just inches from the railing. I crawled the rest of the way across. My hands were glued to the wheel. When I got home, I was shaking. I put the bag on the counter. Sarah was out. The house was quiet. I took out the yellow spray and the plastic frame. Then I saw it. At the bottom of the bag, under the receipt, was a small, flat item. It was a keychain, a cheap plastic keychain. It had a little soccer ball on it. My son, Tommy, plays soccer. He'd been begging for a new keychain for his backpack. Jerry wasn't out the register. He never touched my bag. The cashier was the only one who did. I sat down at the kitchen table. I looked at the keychain. Then I looked at the receipt. The items listed were just the frame and the spray, no keychain. It wasn't paid for. It was just there, a gift, but it felt like a bill for listening to him, a bill for taking his advice and not going onto that highway. The next day, I had to go back. I had to ask him how he knew. I had to give back the keychain. I walked in at the same time, around 2 p.m. I went straight to the home goods aisle. He wasn't there. I checked all the aisles. I went to the register. The same young woman was there. "Excuse me?" I said. My mouth was dry. "Is Jerry working today?" She looked at me confused. "Who?" "Jerry, older guy, glasses, green vest." She shook her head. "I'm the only full-timer here. We have a manager, Steve, but he's in his 40s, and a stock guy, Luis. No Jerry. I saw him yesterday. He helped me. He knew my name." She gave me a polite, wary smile, the smile you give someone who might be a problem. "Sir, nobody named Jerry works here. Maybe he was a customer? Sometimes customers try to help. He had a vest, a name tag." "We haven't had name tags in over a year. Corporate stopped sending them." I just stood there. I felt stupid, and then I felt cold again, colder than before. Can I check your security footage from yesterday, just to show you?" I was desperate. She lost the smile. "I can't do that. Only the manager can, and he'd need a police report or something. I'm sorry." I left. I sat in my truck for a long time. I took the keychain out of my pocket, the cheap plastic soccer ball. That was 3 weeks ago. I haven't been back. I threw the keychain in the dumpster behind my apartment building. Last Tuesday, I needed batteries. I drove to the Walmart 2 towns over. As I was walking in, pushing through the big doors, I saw a man out of the corner of my eye. He was collecting carts in the parking lot. He was older, thin gray hair, glasses. He wasn't looking at me. He was just pushing a line of carts. He was wearing a blue Walmart vest. But as I passed, he turned his head, just slightly, and he nodded.
I didn't get batteries. I turned around and walked right back to my car. I drove home and didn't stop shaking for an hour. I told Sarah about it. She said it was a coincidence. She said the guy at Dollar Tree was probably just a weird, observant old man who guessed about the frame and the spray. She said I must have told him my name without realizing it. The keychain, she said, was probably at the bottom of my basket and the cashier missed it. The Walmart guy was just a different old man. I wanted to believe her. I tried. Then, this morning, I found something in our mailbox. It wasn't inside it. It was sitting on top, like someone had placed it there carefully. It was a small, sealed plastic bag, the kind for beads or tiny crafts. Inside was a single, new lithium battery, the exact kind I needed for my garage door remote. There was no note, no address on the bag, just the battery. Sarah wasn't home. I stood there on the porch, holding this bag. I hadn't told anyone but Sarah I needed batteries. I hadn't bought them. I hadn't even said what kind. I looked up and down the street. Nothing. No one. Now I'm sitting here at my kitchen table again. The battery is in front of me. My garage door remote is dead. I could put this battery in it. It would probably work. But I won't. Because I know it's not a gift. It's a reminder. He's still there. He's watching. And he's not just at the Dollar Tree. He's everywhere I need to go. And the worst part is, I don't know what he wants. I don't know why he's doing this. I just know that he knows things he shouldn't. And now he's at my home. I think the advice, the warning about the overpass, that wasn't him being nice. That was him getting me to trust his information, to prove he was right. Now he owns a piece of my safety. And this battery, it's the next step. I'm going to throw it away.
I'm going to move. I don't know what else to do. But I have this terrible feeling. This cold, simple feeling in my gut. I don't think it matters where I go. I think he'll be there, pushing a cart, or stocking a shelf, or collecting my mail, waiting to tell me something I didn't ask to know.
My name is Chris. I was a long-haul trucker, but I blew out my knee unloading a pallet. Now I drive a local delivery route. It's boring, but it pays the bills. One of my regular stops is this Dollar Tree distribution center on the edge of town. It's a huge, windowless concrete box. My job is to pick up returns and damaged goods they can't sell. Mostly, it's just boxes of slightly dented cans or party supplies with torn plastic. The guy I deal with is named Roy. He's the shift foreman. Big guy, doesn't talk much. He'd just point to a skid, I'd load it, he'd sign my paper, and I'd leave. We never had a conversation longer than morning. This changed last month. I backed my box truck up to the loading dock, door 3 like always. Roy was waiting, but he looked different. Tired, his eyes were red, like he hadn't slept. "New procedure," he said, his voice flat. "You gotta verify the load now. Count the boxes, match the list." He handed me a clipboard. It was a manifest for Category D, non-reclaimable. There were 10 boxes listed, all with the same stock code. "Since when?" I asked. This was gonna make my whole day longer. "Just since now. Just do it, Chris." I didn't like his tone, but whatever. I jumped into the back of my truck. The skid was there, wrapped in plastic. 10 cardboard boxes, all identical. Plain brown, no labels. Just the stock code stamped in black ink. DTNRC 77. I counted them. 10. I checked the code on each box. All DTNRC 77. I signed the clipboard and hopped down. Roy took the clipboard. He didn't look at it. He just stared at the boxes in my truck. "Don't open them," he said. "I never do," I said. "My job is to take them to the recycling contractor. They crush or shred whatever it is. I'm not paid to be curious." "No," he said, looking right at me. His face was pale. "You really don't open them, ever. Not if you hear something. Not if the plastic wrap comes loose. You see a box that's not sealed tight, you put more tape on it. You don't look inside." I laughed. It was a nervous sound. "What's in 'em, Roy? Dead bodies?" He didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. "Just follow the rule. Drive straight to the contractor. No stops." He walked away before I could say anything else. The whole thing felt wrong. I drove to the recycling plant, but I took the long way. My mind was on those boxes. Non-reclaimable. You usually see that on chemical stuff or broken electronics. But these boxes were light. Too light for books or glass. And Roy's warning, "Not if you hear something." About halfway there, I hit a big pothole. The whole truck bounced. From the back, I heard a sound, a soft, dull thump, like something shifting. Then another thump. It wasn't the sound of cans or plastic toys. It was softer, like a bag of laundry. I pulled over on the shoulder of the county road. I turned off the engine. It was quiet, just the sound of cars passing. Then I heard it again, from the cargo box behind me. Thump. Then a scratching sound, short, fast, like ning-nails on cardboard. My blood went cold. I remembered Roy's face, his red eyes. He knew. The scratching stopped. Everything was silent again.
I should have driven straight to the plant. That was my job, but I couldn't. That sound, it was alive. It couldn't be, but it was. I got out of the cab. I walked around to the back of the truck. I had the keys to the padlock. My hands were shaking. This was a bad idea. The worst idea I'd ever had, but I had to know. I unlocked the roll-up door. I grabbed the handle and pulled it up just a foot, enough to see inside. The skid was there. The plastic wrap had come loose from the jolt. One of the 10 boxes had slid off the top. It was lying on its side on the truck bed. The flaps weren't fully sealed. One corner was gaping open. I stood there, looking at that dark opening. I didn't hear anything. I crouched down. I reached out with one hand. I pulled the flap back a little more. Inside, it wasn't packed with paper or foam. It was filled with those cheap plastic Easter grass, the green and pink shredded stuff. It was packed tight. I saw something mixed in with the grass, something white. I reached in and pulled out a handful. It wasn't just grass. Woven into it were small white plastic strips, curved. I held one up to the light. It was a fingernail, a false fingernail, the kind they sell in little packs at the checkout. This one had a tiny faded daisy painted on it. I dropped it. I reached in again, deeper. My fingers touched something solid, cold. I pulled it out. It was a child's hairbrush, a small pink brush. Tangled in the bristles was long brown hair, human hair. I started pulling out more handfuls of the grass, more fake nails, a single cheap plastic earring, a broken barrette, a tiny sock, a pacifier. All of it was mixed in with the green and pink plastic shreds. Every item was used, worn, personal. This wasn't damaged store stock. This was a collection, a landfill of tiny personal things. I heard a rustle from inside the box. The grass shifted. Something was buried deeper. I didn't want to see, but I couldn't stop. I pushed the grass aside. At the bottom of the box was a doll. One of those baby dolls they sell for $1. Its dress was dirty. One eye was stuck open, the other closed. Its plastic cheek was scratched, and it was holding something, clutched in its stiff little fingers. It was a Polaroid photo, old, faded, the white border yellowed. I took it. I held it up. The photo showed a little girl. She was smiling, missing a front tooth. She was sitting on a lawn chair in a backyard. Behind her, you could see the corner of a house, and on the back of that house, next to the door, was a faded, peeling sticker. A sticker I'd seen 1,000 times. It was the Dollar Tree price sticker, the green one with the tree. It was on the house, like someone had stuck it there. The photo felt wrong in my hands. I turned it over. On the back, in messy, childish handwriting, it said, "I saved her a seat." That's when I heard the other boxes. Not a thump, a series of soft, simultaneous thumps from all 9 of the other boxes still on the skid, like something inside all of them had just turned over. I dropped the photo. I scrambled out of the truck, slammed the door down, and fumbled with the padlock. I got it locked. I got in the cab. I started the engine and drove. I didn't go to the recycling plant. I drove to the river, to the industrial part where nobody goes. I backed my truck right up to the edge of the water. I unlocked the door, rolled it all the way up, and got back in the cab. I put the truck in gear and nudged forward until the back wheels were in the mud. Then I yanked the release lever for the cargo box. The whole floor tilts to dump the load. The skid, the plastic wrap, and all 10 brown boxes slid out into the deep, muddy water. They bobbed for a second, then they sank. I drove away. I called my boss. I said the truck broke down, that I was waiting for a tow. I didn't go back to work the next day. I quit. I never saw Roy again. I drove past the distribution center last week. They had a new fence and a new sign by the gate. It said, "Now hiring, night shift inventory." But that's not the end of it. Yesterday, I got a package in the mail, no return address. It was a small, flat box. Inside, packed in a wad of that green and pink plastic Easter grass, was a single, new Polaroid. The photo is of a delivery dock. It's door 3 of the Dollar Tree distribution center. My drunk truck is backed into it. You can see me through the windshield, sitting in the driver's seat, talking to Roy. The photo is taken from inside the building, from the dark behind the dock door. On the back, in that same messy, childish handwriting, it says, "You didn't verify the load." And below that, a list. It's not 10 items, it's 11. Stock code DTNRC-77 is checked off 10 times. The 11th line is blank.
My name's Ben. I lost my job at the warehouse 6 months ago. Things got bad. I mean, bad. The kind of bad where you're counting coins for gas. My wife, Julie, she started picking up extra shifts at the diner. We were hanging on by a thread. That's when I saw the sign. The Dollar Tree on South Central was hiring. Part-time, stock associate. It was minimum wage, but it was something. I applied right there in the store. The manager, a tired-looking woman named Donna, hired me on the spot. She said they were desperate. I didn't care why. I needed the money. The first week was normal, just unloading boxes, putting stuff on shelves. The store was depressing under the bright lights, all that cheap, colorful plastic trying to hide how empty everything felt. But it was a job. Donna gave me the rule on day 1. You see anything that doesn't belong on the shelves, you bring it to me. You don't put it out, you don't throw it away, you bring it to me. I figured she meant expired food or broken stuff. Sure, I said. It started on my 3rd shift. I was in aisle 7, housewares. I was putting out these blue plastic colanders. On the bottom shelf, between 2 packs of sponges, I saw a book. It wasn't a Dollar Tree book. Those are usually kids' activity books or word searches. This was an old paperback novel. The cover was torn. It was called The Long Road Home. No author I knew. I picked it up. It felt damp. I opened it. On the first page, in shaky handwriting, it said, "Forgive me, Ellen. I had no choice." Weird. Somebody's trash. I took it to the back and handed it to Donna at her little desk. She didn't look surprised. She took it without a word and put it in the bottom drawer of her filing cabinet. She locked it. "Thanks, Ben." The next day, I was in aisle 2, toys. I was hanging up bags of rubber bouncy balls. On the hook next to them was a single car key. Not on a ring, just one key. It looked new. Rule was the rule. I took it to Donna. She looked at the key, her face blank. She put it in the same drawer, locked it. It kept happening. Once a shift, sometimes twice, I'd find something that didn't belong. A single worn-out baby shoe in the candy aisle. A Polaroid photo of a happy family at a barbecue tucked between boxes of pasta. Everyone was smiling except the man taking the picture, whose reflection was in a window. He wasn't smiling. A prescription pill bottle, empty with the label scratched off, behind the shampoo. A handwritten note on a napkin that said, "He knows you're here." Every time, Donna would take it, lock it in that drawer. She never explained. She just got quieter, more tired. I asked Luis, one of the other stock guys, about it. He'd been there a year. He just shook his head. You find it, you give it to her. That's it. Don't ask, don't think about it. It's just store policy. But it wasn't policy. It was creepy. And it was always in my section, always me finding them. The final straw was 2 weeks in. I was working the late shift, closing up. I was in the last aisle, checking for empty spaces. Aisle 10, stationery. At the very end, on the bottom shelf behind the notebooks, was a small white envelope. It wasn't sealed. My heart started pounding. I didn't want to touch it, but I had to. Rule was the rule. I picked it up. It was stiff. There was something inside. I opened the flap and slid the contents out. It was a driver's license, a state ID. The photo was of a man in his 40s. He had a beard. He looked tired. The name was David M. Kellerman.
The address was 2247 Maple Drive. That was my address, my old address, the apartment Julie and I lived in 3 years ago, before we moved to the place we're in now, the place we got when I still had the warehouse job. The license was expired. The date was from 3 years ago. My hands were ice. I turned the license over. On the back, in that same shaky handwriting from the book, it said, "You should have stayed." I heard footsteps. Donna was walking down the aisle towards me. Her keys were in her hand. It was time to close. I shoved the license back in the envelope. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't give this to her. This was about me, my old home. "Find anything, Ben?" she asked. Her voice was soft, too soft. "No," I said. The word croaked out of my throat. "Nothing. All clear." I held the envelope behind my back, crumpling it in my fist. She looked at me for a long time. Her eyes were sad. "Okay," she said finally. "Let's get the lights. You can go."
I clocked out fast. I ran to my car. I drove home, that envelope burning a hole in my pocket. Julie was asleep. I sat at the kitchen table under the dim light. I took out the license. David M. Kellerman. My old address. I got my laptop. I did something I shouldn't have. I searched the name and the old address. It came up. A news article from 3 years ago, from the local paper's website. Man found deceased in apartment. The article said the tenant of 2247 Maple Drive, David M. Kellerman, was found by the landlord after failing to pay rent. The death was deemed non-suspicious, a heart attack. He'd been dead for about a week. No family could be located. He died in my apartment, in the room that was my living room. I felt sick. Was this a sick joke? Who was leaving this stuff? Was it Donna? Was it someone else? I couldn't sleep. I went to work the next day feeling like a ghost. Donna didn't mention anything. She just gave me my tasks. That afternoon, I was in the storage room in the back, getting a box of light bulbs. The room was small, crowded with overstock. As I turned to leave, I saw it. The filing cabinet. Donna's filing cabinet. The drawer where she put everything. It was unlocked. She must have forgotten to lock it after taking something out. I shouldn't have. I know I shouldn't have, but I had to see. I put down the box of light bulbs. I walked over. My hand was shaking. I pulled open the bottom drawer. It was empty. Not a single thing. No book, no key, no photo, no shoe. Nothing. Just empty space. But the drawer didn't look right. It was too shallow. I reached in and pressed on the bottom. It was flimsy, a false bottom. My fingers found a little notch at the back. I pried it up. Under the false bottom, the drawer was full, but not with the things I'd found. It was filled with hundreds of small, white, rectangular cards, like index cards. They were packed tight. I picked up a handful. Each card had a name, an address, and a date on it, in neat printed handwriting, not the shaky script from the items. The first card I read, Patricia Wells, 451 Oak Lane, 11/14/2022. The next, Robert Fanning, 889 State Street, Apt B, 03/07/2023. Another, David M. Kellerman, 2247 Maple Drive, 08/19/2021. My blood turned to ice. I shuffled through more. All names, all addresses, all dates from the past few years. At the very bottom of the pile, there was a newer card. The ink was fresher. It read, Ben Miller, 3304 Pine Road, 05/17/2024. I dropped the cards. They scattered on the floor. I backed away from the cabinet. The storage room door opened. Donna stood there. She wasn't surprised to see me. She looked at the cards on the floor. Then she looked at me. She didn't look angry. She looked resigned. exhausted. "You weren't supposed to see that, Ben," she said quietly. "What is this?" I whispered. "Who are these people?" She didn't answer. She just knelt down and started carefully picking up the cards, stacking them neatly. "They're people who found things," she said, not looking at me. "People who worked here, or shopped here. People the store notices." "Notices for what?" She stood up, holding the stack of cards with my name on top. "For when it's their turn to leave something behind." She looked at me, and for the first time I saw real fear in her eyes. "The things you find, they aren't lost, they're placed. They're messages from the people who came before you, the ones who got a card in the drawer." "David Kellerman," I said. "He worked here?" "He shopped here," she said. "He found a set of car keys in aisle 6. He gave them to the manager, just like the rule says." She looked at the card in her hand. "A week later, he was dead in his apartment, and the store had his license to give to the next person." "This is insane," I said, my voice rising. "You're telling me the store kills people?" "No," she said, her voice dead calm. "It's just a place. It's the pattern, the rule. You find something, you report it. Your name goes in the drawer. And when your time comes, you become the thing that someone else finds. A piece of your life left on a shelf. A warning, a goodbye note." She held up the card with my name. "You found the license. You broke the rule. You didn't report it. But it's too late. You saw it. You're part of the pattern now. Your card is already here." "What happens now?" I asked. I felt cold all over. "Now," she said, "you finish your shift, you go home, you live your life. And one day, maybe next week, maybe next year, you'll feel the need to come back here. You'll buy something small, and you'll leave something of yours in an aisle. For the next person, for the next name in the drawer." She put the stack of cards back in the drawer, closed the false bottom, and shut the cabinet. She locked it. The key sounded very final. "Why?" was all I could ask. "I don't know," she said. She looked older than anyone I'd ever seen. "It's just the way it is. It's the cost of the cheap lights, the low prices. This place, it balances the books, and the currency is pieces of people's lives." She walked past me and out of the room. "Clock out when you're done, Ben." I didn't finish my shift. I left. I quit over the phone an hour later. I'm writing this from my kitchen at 3304 Pine Road. The date is 05/18/2024. It's the day after my card was dated. Julie is at work. The house is quiet. I keep looking at my things. My favorite coffee mug, a photo of me and Julie at the lake, my old high school ring. I'm trying to decide which one I'll miss the least, because I can feel it, a quiet, pulling feeling, like a hook in my chest. It's tugging me toward the Dollar Tree on South Central. I think I'll go tomorrow, just to look, maybe buy some batteries. And I know, deep down, I won't leave with everything I bring in.
My name is Derek. This isn't about something I found. It's about something I did. After my dad died, my mom couldn't live alone. She moved in with us. My wife, Amanda, wasn't thrilled, but she understood. Mom's mind wasn't what it used to be. She had good days and bad days. On the bad days, she'd get confused. She'd forget where she was. Sometimes she'd wander. We put locks on the doors, high up where she couldn't reach. We got her a medical alert bracelet. We did everything the pamphlet said. Last Thursday was a bad day. I was working from home on a conference call in the basement. Amanda was at the store. I thought Mom was napping in her room on the first floor. My call ended. I came upstairs. Her bedroom door was open. She wasn't there. The front door was unlocked. Panic. Pure panic. I ran outside. No sign of her. I called Amanda, screaming into the phone. We called the police. They put out a silver alert. She'd been gone maybe 20 minutes, but on foot that could be miles for a determined, confused person. An officer asks where she might go. I said I didn't know. She didn't know the neighborhood. We just moved here last year. Then Amanda, her voice cracking, said, "The Dollar Tree. She always loved that store. She said everything was simple there." There was a Dollar Tree about 8 blocks away, in a little shopping plaza. I took off running. I didn't wait for the cop. I just ran. I got there, out of breath, sweating. The parking lot was busy. I shoved through the doors. The bright lights and cheesy music hit me. I started down the aisles, my head whipping left and right. "Mom!" I yelled. People stared. "Evelyn! Evelyn, are you in here?" I didn't see her. I ran to the back. I checked the seasonal aisle, the food aisle. Nothing. My heart was going to explode out of my chest. A young employee with acne was stacking soup cans. "Did you see an older woman?" I demanded. "Gray hair, blue sweater, looks confused." He looked scared of me. I think maybe she went toward the restrooms?" There was a single-stall employee restroom in the back by the storage doors. I sprinted toward it. The door was marked employees only, but I didn't care. I pushed it open. It was a small, clean bathroom, empty. She wasn't in the store. I walked back out into the main aisle, feeling hollow, defeated. The fear was turning into something worse, a cold dread. Where was she? It was getting cold outside. She only had a sweater. I stood there, in aisle 5, surrounded by cheap kitchen gadgets and party napkins. I felt useless. I leaned my head against a shelf of plastic cups. I closed my eyes. That's when I heard it. A voice, faint, muffled. "Help!" My eyes snapped open. I held my breath. "Is anyone there?" It was Mom's voice. It was coming from right beside me. I looked at the shelf. It was full of those big multi-packs of red Solo cups, stacked high. The voice wasn't coming from the aisle. It was coming from behind the shelf. I pushed on the shelf unit. It was on wheels. It rolled forward an inch with a squeak. There was a gap between it and the wall. The voice was clearer now, muffled, but coming from behind the wall. "I'm stuck. Please." "Mom," I shouted at the wall. "I'm here. It's Derek." "Derek?" Her voice came back, faint but hopeful. "The wall. It opened. I can't get it to open again." There was no door on this wall, just flat white-painted drywall. I ran my hands over it, pushing, searching for a seam, a latch, anything. "Stand back, Mom," I said. I didn't know if she could hear me. I stepped back and then kicked the wall, right where her voice was strongest. My foot went through with a crunch of drywall. There was no stud behind it, just empty space. I tore at the broken drywall with my hands, making the hole bigger. It wasn't a wall. It was a facade. Behind it was a narrow, dark space, like the gap between 2 walls. And in that space, sitting on the bare concrete floor, was my mom. She was curled up, her sweater dirty with dust. "Oh, thank God," I sobbed. I reached in and helped her out. She was shaking, but she seemed okay, just scared and confused. "The little door was open," she said, clutching my arm. "It looked like the bathroom door. I went in. Then it closed behind me. It was so dark." I held her. I looked back at the hole I'd made in the wall. Inside, the space was about 3 feet wide. It ran the length of the store. I could see other shelves visible through other gaps. It was like a hidden corridor behind the entire wall of aisle 5. On the floor, I saw a few empty water bottles and a crumpled Dollar Tree bag. Someone else had been in there. Maybe more than one someone.
The employee with the acne had come over, his manager behind him. The manager, a bald guy in a tie, looked from me to the hole in the wall to my mom. His face wasn't concerned. It was pale, angry. "What did you do?" he hissed at me, quiet so customers wouldn't hear. "My mom was trapped in there," I said, my voice loud. "You can't damage store property, and that's a utility space. It's not for customers." "A utility space with no door?" I shot back. People were gathering. I saw phones out, recording. The manager's eyes darted around. He forced a smile. "Sir, I'm just glad your mother is safe. We'll need you to fill out an incident report, and for the damage." The police and Amanda arrived then. There was chaos. The police took my statement, the manager gave his. He called it an unfortunate accident, said my disoriented mother must have pushed through a loose panel. He promised to have it repaired and secured. We took Mom home. She was okay, just tired.
The doctor checked her out, said she was fine. But I couldn't let it go. The hidden space, the lack of a door, the manager's face. He wasn't surprised by the space. He was surprised I'd found it. The next day I went back. I had to know. The hole in the wall was covered with a big piece of plywood hastily screwed in place. The store was busy. I walked to the back, to the employees-only door by the bathroom. I waited until no one was looking. I tried the handle. It was unlocked. I slipped inside. It was a short hallway. One door said manager, another said storage. At the end of the hall was a third door, an old door, painted the same beige as the walls. It had no sign. I listened. No sound from inside. I tried the handle. It was locked. But next to the door, on the wall, was a small, unmarked electrical panel. It was the kind with a little hinged door. I opened it. Inside weren't circuit breakers. It was a single, old-fashioned key hanging on a hook at a light switch. I took the key. It fit the lock on the unmarked door. I turned it. The door opened inward. I flipped the light switch from the panel. The room was small, an office, but not a normal one. There was no desk. On the walls were detailed framed floor plans, blueprints, of this Dollar Tree store. I stepped closer. The blueprint showed the main sales floor, but it also showed the hidden space behind aisle 5. It was labeled A5 Recess. On the plan, there was a dotted line showing an entrance, not from the sales floor, from this room. I followed the dotted line on the blueprint with my finger. It led to a section of the back wall of this very office. I turned and looked. It was a bookcase filled with 3-ring binders and old manuals. I pulled on it. It swung outward silently on well-oiled hinges. Behind it was a dark opening. A smell of dust and cold concrete wafted out. I found a light switch just inside. Fluorescent lights flickered on.
It was the hidden corridor. I was at one end of it. I could see the plywood patch I'd kicked through at the far end, 30 yards away. The A5 recessed. I walked into the corridor. It was clean. Too clean. No spider webs. The concrete floor was swept. Along the walls were shelves. Not store shelves. Simple metal shelving. They were not empty. The first shelf held supplies, bottles of water, protein bars, blankets, a first aid kit. The second shelf held tools, a crowbar, a roll of duct tape, a hunting knife still in the plastic packaging, a heavy-duty flashlight. The third shelf held personal items, arranged neatly, a woman's purse, a child's backpack with a superhero on it, a man's leather wallet, a pair of expensive-looking running shoes. Each item had a tag tied to it, like a price tag, but instead of a price, there was a date that's going back years. At the very end of the corridor, right behind where my mom had been sitting, was a fourth shelf. This one held only one thing. It was a small, folded piece of blue fabric. It was a sweater, a child's sweater, and sitting neatly on top of the sweater was a silver alert flyer. It was wrinkled like it had been taped to a lamppost and then taken down. The photo was of a smiling little boy. He'd been missing for 4 months from a town 2 states over. The date on the flyer was from last week. My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't a hiding place. It was a staging area, a waiting room. The manager hadn't been worried about my mom. He'd been worried about his secret, this hidden track that ran behind the bright, cheap store, a place to keep things, to keep people out of sight. I heard a noise behind me, the soft click of the bookcase door closing. I spun around. The manager stood there, blocking the way back to the office. He wasn't angry now. He just looked tired. He had the crowbar from the second shelf in his hand, not raised, just holding it. "You just couldn't leave it alone," he said. His voice echoed softly in the narrow space. "What is this place?" I asked, backing up until I hit the shelf with the wallet and the shoes. "It's the other side of the transaction," he said calmly. "You think everything here costs $1? Some things cost more. Some people, they get lost. They wander in. And sometimes they're worth more than $1 to the wrong person, or they see something they shouldn't." He took a step forward. "Your mom was supposed to be one of them,
a confused old lady who wanders into a gap in the wall and never comes out. It happens. It's sad, but it balances the books. "You're a monster," I whispered. "No," he said, shaking his head slowly. "I'm the night manager. I manage all the inventory, even the special inventory." He raised the crowbar. "And now, Derek, you're on the wrong side of the wall." I had nowhere to run. The plywood patch at the far end was screwed shut from the other side. I was trapped in the long, thin coffin behind the party supplies. He came toward me. I did the only thing I could think of. I grabbed the one thing within reach that wasn't tied down, the heavy-duty flashlight from the second shelf. The flashlight was solid metal. It felt heavy and cold in my hand. The manager paused, his eyes flicking from my face to the flashlight. He was bigger than me. He had the crowbar, but I had the desperation of someone who just found out the world is much darker than they thought. "Don't be stupid, Derek," he said, his voice low. "Put it down. You walk out of here, you go to the police. What do you tell them? That the store manager has a secret closet? They'll think you're crazy. Your mom is confused. You damaged property. It's your word against a corporation. They'll bury you." He was right. I knew he was right. The proof on these shelves was creepy, but was it criminal?
If you liked the story, subscribe and like it, and also write a comment about what topic you would like to hear about.